Feedback. You ever wonder why someone who clearly still has feelings for you, watches your stories, still lingers in your life in quiet ways, doesn't actually reach out? I mean, it's obvious he still cares. You can feel it, and yet silence.
No text, calls.
Not even a simple, hey, I was just thinking about you. It doesn't make sense,
right?
Feedback. If he craves you that badly, why wouldn't he just do something about it? Let me tell you something that might surprise you. The fear of rejection is often more powerful than desire. Feedback, yes, he might be craving you like crazy, but that craving exists alongside the fear and the fear of being hurt again. The fear of putting himself out there only to be met with coldness, feedback, indifference, or worse, silence. That fear doesn't just live in his head, it paralyzes him. Desire says, I want to reach out. Fear whispers, feedback. But what if I'm not wanted anymore? Guess which voice usually wins? You see, it's not just rejection in the dramatic sense, the subtle kind that scares people the most. Feedback. What if he texts you and you take hours to respond? What if you seem lukewarm, polite, distant? What if he pours out a little of his heart and all he gets in return is a thanks? Feedback, the kind of lukewarm response, can be more crushing than a flat out no, because it leaves him with the sense that maybe he never really mattered to you. And for someone who already feels vulnerable, feedback, that's unbearable. So he does the thing that feels safe to nothing. He convinces himself that silence is power, that by staying quiet, he's maintaining his dignity. Feedback, and maybe even telling himself that if you really want to talk, if you'd make the first move. But the truth is, deep down, feedback, he's probably tired of the emotional exposure that comes with reaching out. Vulnerability is hard, especially when there's history involved, especially when pride, ego, feedback, or unfinished pain from the breakup is still lingering. And let's not forget, men are not raised in a world that teaches them how to handle rejection with grace. They're taught to win feedback, to succeed, to get the result. So when the outcome is uncertain, many would rather not play at all. They'll crave, they'll they'll relive memories on loop, but they won't move. Feedback, not if the chance they might lose face, because in their mind, if they don't reach out, they can always hold on to the fantasy that maybe, just maybe, you'd still say yes if only. Feedback, it's a twisted kind of self-protection. The desire is real, the craving is real, but the fear, that haunting voice saying back, she doesn't feel the same, or you're just going to embarrass yourself, or you'll look weak. That fear is louder. And here's what's even more heartbreaking: feedback. The longer he waits, the more pressure builds up around the idea of contacting you. What could have been a simple, hey, how are you? A week ago now feels like a monumental task. Feedback, like reaching out, requires a whole speech or an apology tour. So instead of breaking the silence, he hides behind it, not because he doesn't feel anything. Feedback, because feeling too much has become overwhelming. And I know it's frustrating. You think, if he misses me so much, why can't he just say it? But I want you to remember, feedback, what's obvious to you may not feel obvious to him. He might be interpreting your silence as rejection too. Maybe you've been strong, focused, moving forward. Feedback. Maybe your confidence is being read as distance. Maybe he's assuming you're done. And when someone already doubts themselves, that assumption can be just enough to keep them frozen. The worst part, feedback. He might think he's doing the mature thing. He might believe that stepping back is what's best for you, that he's respecting your space, your peace, your boundaries. Back. He could be telling himself, she looks like she's thriving. I don't want to mess that up by inserting myself again. It sounds no, but it's often just fear wrapped in good intentions. Feedback. So yes, he might desperately crave you. He might think about you every single day. He might scroll through old photos, type out a message and delete it. Feedback. Check your profile in the middle of the night, but still nothing. And it's not because he doesn't care. It's because he cares so much back that the idea of being dismissed, of reaching out and not being met with warmth, is too much for him to handle. You might be sitting there thinking he's cold, indifferent, or detached. Feedback. But chances are he's just scared, paralyzed, worrying that making a move would be the final confirmation that you're really truly over him. And so even while craving you, he stays silent. Feedback. Sometimes it's not about whether he wants to contact you. It's about whether he believes that he's still welcome in your life, whether he thinks there's still a place for him back. And you might be thinking, well, if he really cared, he'd just reach out and find out, right? But here's what happens. When a man starts to convince himself that you've moved on, feedback, the door in his mind begins to close. Even if he's still staring it from the outside, we often assume people will reach out if they care. But that's not always true, especially not when pride, feedback, fear, and assumptions are driving the car. You may be doing nothing wrong. In fact, you might just be living your life, posting a few stories, smiling in a photo, feedback, hanging out with friends. But what he sees is something different. He sees confirmation that you're over it, that you're done, that you're thriving without him. Feedback. It doesn't matter whether you're really over him or not. What matters is the story he's telling himself based on what he sees. And if what he sees makes him feel like an outsider, feedback. Like an old chapter in your life, he won't risk reaching out because in his mind, the last thing he wants to be is the guy who disrupts your peace. feedback. Or worse, the guy you've already emotionally, that's the thing about perception. When we miss someone, we're hyper attuned to the signs that either validate our hope or crush it. Feedback. So when he's scrolling through your feed or hearing from mutual friends that you're doing amazing, he's not thinking, wow, she's glowing, I should call her. Ooh, he's thinking feedback. She's glowing without me. And that thought hits hard. It makes him feel irrelevant, replaceable, like his chapter in your story is already over. Feedback. And that belief, whether it's based in reality or not, will stop him from ever dialing your number. He'll say to himself, but why would she even want to hear from me now? Or feedback. She probably thinks I was trying to come back because I'm lonely. He builds up all these possible scenarios where he reaches out and gets shut down or ignored. And so feedback. He talks himself out of trying it all. Even worse, he might see your strength and independence as a kind of wall. You're not posting sad quotes. You're not dropping hints. Feedback. You're out there looking broken. And for a lot of guys, that sends the message that their absence doesn't matter. So rather than confront that possibility head on, they withdraw. Feedback. They stay in the shadows, craving connection, but convinced it's no longer on the table. Now, here's the irony. Sometimes that strength he sees in you, that confidence, that quiet distance, model feedback. That's exactly what makes you so attracted to him still, but also what intimidates him. You see, it's not that he doesn't miss you. Feedback. It's that the version of you he's seeing now feels even further away than before, more empowered, and he doesn't know how to reach that version of you. Feedback. The one who seems unbothered, who seems over it. And if he left the relationship feeling like he wasn't good enough, or that he let you down, feedback, or that he didn't step up in the ways you needed, then watching you thrive just reinforces that insecurity. He starts to believe that maybe you're better off now, that maybe you've upgraded. Feedback. Even if you're still single, that maybe what you needed was distance from him all along. So he backs away, not because the feelings are gone, but because he assumes who your feelings are. Feedback. He thinks he's respecting your new life when really he's just misreading the signals. He thinks he's being mature by not disturbing your peace, when in reality, feedback. He's just avoiding the possibility that you might not want him back. You could be thinking about him every day, missing him, wanting him to something, anything. But to him, back. Your silence is loud. He's watching your strength like it's a final statement, like it's your way of saying, I've moved on. Feedback. Don't reach out, even if that's not what you're saying at all. And this is where the misunderstanding lies. Two people who miss each other, craving connection, feedback, but trapped in their own interpretations of silence and strength. He thinks you're done. You think he doesn't care. And the longer that miscommunication lasts, feedback, the more certain he becomes that staying away is the right thing to do. So yes, he might desperately crave you, but he doesn't think there's a place for him in your life anymore. Feedback. And rather than face the possibility of being told that directly, he chooses the comfort of distance, even if that distance breaks his heart every single day. Feedback. Sometimes it's not about love. It's not even about desire. It's about power, about control, about who feels like they've got the upper hand. Feedback. And that can be hard to accept, especially when you know someone still has feelings for you, when you know deep down that they haven't moved on. You see the signs, you feel the energy back, but still silence.
No message, no apology, no closure. And you're left
wondering, feedback. Why won't he just say something if he wants me back? But here's the truth most people don't talk about. He'd be craving you. He might think about you constantly. Feedback. But he doesn't want to feel like he needs you, because needing you would mean admitting vulnerability. And for someone who's trying to regain power, vulnerability is the enemy. For some men, feedback, especially those who struggle with emotional maturity, the aftermath of a breakup isn't about healing. It's about control. It's about who cares less, who moves on first. Feedback. Who breaks the silence? He may have felt small or powerless in the relationship. He couldn't make you happy, like he was constantly disappointing you, or like he lost his sense of identity. Feedback. And now in the silence, he sees an opportunity to reclaim some of that lost pride. He wants to feel strong again. And to him, strength looks like not reaching out. Feedback. That's the twisted logic at play here. Contacting you in his mind feels like surrender, like giving you the satisfaction of knowing he still cares. So instead of picking up the phone, feedback, he holds on to silence like it's armor. He tells himself, oh, if I stay quiet, I'm in control. I'm not chasing. Feedback. I'm not the one who looks weak. It's not that the feelings aren't there. They are. But pride can make people act against their own hearts. Feedback. And when someone feels like they lost power in the relationship, when they felt emotionally exposed, feedback, or like they were the one always trying, it can create this need, even the score after it ends, even if that scorekeeping makes no sense. Feedback. Even it means walking away from someone they still deeply want. You might be sitting there thinking, but I never wanted to have power over him. Feedback. I just wanted us to be real with each other. And I believe that. But the dynamic we ever think we're part of isn't always the one the other person is experiencing. Feedback. He may have interpreted moments of independence, confidence, or even confrontation as signs that he wasn't enough. He wasn't respected, that he couldn't lead. And now that things are over, Feedback. He's determined not to feel that way again. So he clings to the only thing he thinks he can control, his silence. And here's the wild part, and he might even be doing this consciously. Feedback. He's not sitting around twirling a villain mustache thinking, how can I win this breakup? No, it's more subtle than that. It's in the hesitation. Feedback. The decision to check your story but not send a message. The way he types out a text and deletes it. The way he convinces himself if she wants to talk. Feedback. She knows where to find me. All of that is just ego trying to protect itself, trying to avoid another moment of feeling small. And yet, the irony is, he's still giving you power. Feedback. Because craving someone and refusing to admit it doesn't actually take the power back. Feedback. It just keeps both people stuck in this quiet war of who will blink first. And then if you've been strong, if you respected yourself, back. If you've chosen silence because you refuse to beg for attention, you're not just strong in his eyes, you're intimidating because now he's not just battling his feelings for you. Feedback, he's battling the fear that if he does all reach out, it'll be on your terms, that you'll be the one with the decision, that he'll show his cards and you'll fold. So what does he do? Feedback. He waits, not because he's at peace, but because he's trying to outlast the comfort. He's waiting for the craving to pass, for the desire to shrink. He's hoping time will make it easier. Feedback. That if he doesn't give in, he'll win back some version of control that he feels he lost. But let's be clear, that control is an illusion because real power doesn't come from silence. Feedback. It doesn't come from pretending not to care. It comes from honesty, from courage, from reaching out even when it's hard. And that's the step he's not ready to take. Feedback. So even though he may be craving you, in the deepest parts of himself, he'll hold back. Not because he doesn't feel it, because to him, not contacting you feels like the only way to win. Feedback. There's a kind of silence that isn't about not caring. It's not cold. It's not indifferent. It's not someone moving on. Feedback. It's a silence filled with weight, a silence someone is feeling so much they literally don't know what to do with it. And for a lot of men, that's exactly the place they get stuck. Feedback. Not because they don't crave you, not because they don't miss you, but because they don't know how to move through those emotions in a healthy way. He might be sitting there every day, feedback, flooded with memories, unable to stop thinking about you, but he's not picking up the phone. And it's not because he's fine without you, feedback. It's because he doesn't know how to be with those feelings and still function. That kind of emotional overwhelm, it shuts him down. Feedback. And that's not just a personal thing. It's something a lot of men have never been taught to handle. Growing up, many guys are told, directly or indirectly, that showing emotions is weak. Feedback. That pain should be your heart broken. You suck it up, distract yourself, or toughen up and move on. Vulnerability gets linked to shame. Feedback. So what happens when he starts to feel something as intense as craving you? He does it away because to feel is already a struggle. But to express those feelings, feedback, that feels like drowning. He's caught in this emotional loop. He's feeling everything, but expressing nothing. He wants you, misses you, dreams about you back. But he also feels this huge wave of helplessness. And instead of turning toward you with that pain, with that longing, he retreats into silence. Feedback. Because the thought of reaching out doesn't just trigger vulnerability. It triggers failure, the failure to be strong, the failure to stay composed. Feedback. The fear of being seen in that emotionally raw state. And he doesn't have the tools to navigate it. So he hides, he bottles it up, he pretends he's fine, he convinces himself to wait it out. Feedback, to suppress what he's feeling and get through it without reaching for help. And what's tragic is that deep craving. What could have led to a reconnection, feedback, a real moment of growth or healing, just festers because it has nowhere to go. This isn't about him being emotionally unavailable in the classic sense. This is about emotional survival. Feedback. He's in a war between his craving and his conditioning. And right now, his conditioning is winning because that inner voice, the one that says, we model feedback. Don't let her see how much you care. Or you're pathetic if you reach out. Or what if she doesn't want you anymore? It's louder than the one saying feedback. Just be honest. Just say something. This is what I call the masculine wound. It's that deep feedback, internal block that makes a man believe that to desire someone, to really want them, is the same as giving away his power. And so he resists, not because the desire isn't real back, but because admitting it feels like defeat. And in that resistance, he suffers privately. You may never see it. You may never know, but it's there. He might distract himself with work, feedback, with friends, with meaningless flins, with anything that helps him not the depth of what's really going on inside. But every time it gets quiet, every time he's alone, feedback. Every time he sees something that reminds him of you, he feels it again, that longing pull ache, but still he says nothing because saying something means risking rejection. Feedback. It means owning that he still wants you. And that level of exposure feels unbearable to him. He may even tell himself a story that helps him justify the silence. Feedback. Oh, she probably doesn't want to hear from me. Or it's better if I let her move on. Or I already messed it up. What's the point? These aren't necessarily truths. Feedback, they're defense mechanisms, ways of protecting himself from the pain of uncertainty. Because if he reaches out and doesn't get what he hopes for, feedback, It's not just about you rejecting him. It confirms every fear he's already carrying about being good enough. So yes, he craves you. He misses the way you made him feel. The connection, back, the energy, the warmth. He replays the moment, sometimes more than he'd ever admit. But when it comes time to act on that craving, to send the message, to make the call, he freezes. Feedback. Not because he doesn't want you, because he's scared that the moment he opens his mouth, all his emotions will spill out and he won't know how to put them back in. Feedback. That silence you hear from him, it's not empty. It's full of emotion that he has no idea how to express. Feedback. Have you ever had someone disappear? Not because they didn't care, but because they cared so much they didn't know how to fix what they broke. That's one of the hardest truths to accept. Sometimes the silence isn't about ego or games or even fear of rejection. Sometimes it's about shame, guilt, that deep, gnawing feeling that says, feedback. You don't deserve her anymore. When a man knows he hurt you, really hurt you, it can create this invisible wall between what he wants and what he feels worthy of. Feedback. He may crave you more than ever. He may think about you every day, rehearse the conversations he wishes he'd had, or replay the moment it all went wrong. But instead of moving toward you, feedback. That shame pulls him into hiding. Because in his eyes, he's already failed. He's already let you down.
Yeah.
And there's no undoing it. You might be sitting there thinking, ooh, if he really cared, feedback, you try. He'd at least say something. But shame doesn't make people brave. It makes them small. It makes them afraid to be seen, to be reminded of what they did. Feedback. Because with every step closer to you comes the possibility of seeing your pain and realizing they caused it. And for someone who already feels like they failed you, that's unbearable. Feedback. So he tells himself, ooh, she's better off without me. Not as a compliment to you, but as a punishment to himself. Feedback. Because reaching out doesn't just mean facing you. It means facing a version of himself he's not proud of. And that's the part we don't always see. Feedback. The inner war between wanting you and believing he no longer deserves you. That kind of conflict can leave a man stuck in place, silently craving the very person he's too ashamed to approach. Feedback. Even if he's grown since the breakup, even if he's done the work and become more self-aware, that lingering guilt can convince him that reaching out would be selfish. Feedback. That maybe the best thing he can do now is just stay gone. Because in his mind, coming back doesn't feel redemptive. It feels intrusive. Feedback. Like showing up uninvited to a life he no longer belongs in. You might even be angry anymore. You may have forgiven him or even longed for closure yourself, but he doesn't know that. Feedback. He only knows the last version of himself you saw, the one who messed up, the one who didn't show up for you, the one who left you confused, disappointed, maybe even broken. Feedback. And that's the version of himself he assumes you see when you think of him. So rather than risk hearing, hey, you hurt me too badly, or worse, hey, I've moved on, he stays silent. Feedback. Not because it's what he wants, but because it feels like the only way to keep what little dignity he has left. And the truth is, men aren't taught how to process shame in a healthy way. Feedback. They're not taught that redemption often starts with vulnerability. They're taught to suppress it, hide it, or numb it. So instead of stepping into accountability, many retreat into avoidance. Feedback. They rewrite the narrative so it hurts less. She probably hates me, or you, she deserves someone better.
Or it's too late anyway. These stories don't heal them.
Feedback. They just keep them paralyzed. Meanwhile, you're over here feeling confused. You feel that he still has feelings. You sense that it wasn't all fake. You might even be open to a conversation. Feedback. But that silence keeps growing. It feels cold, distant, final. And it hurts because you know the door didn't close because of lack of emotion. It closed because of emotional paralysis. Back. So he waits, not out of peace, but out of feed pain. He waits not because he doesn't want you back, but because he didn't believe he deserves you back. And the longer he waits, feedback, the heavier that shame becomes. The more he watches you move forward, the more he starts to believe he was just a chapter in your life that needed to end. And maybe he's right. Feedback. But maybe he never gave you the chance to decide that for yourself. What he doesn't realize is that silence doesn't protect you from his shame. It just deepens the distance. Feedbacks the wound feel permanent. He thinks disappearing is somehow noble, that it's better than reaching out and risking more hurt. But what it really is unfinished. It's incomplete. It's a craving left unanswered, not because of a lack of emotion, but of a lack of courage to face it. So even if he desperately craves you, even if he lies awake wishing he could go back, model feedback. That shame is louder than his longing. And until he learns to forgive himself, he'll never believe he's worthy of your forgiveness either. Feedback. There's a moment after a breakup where the craving hits hardest. It's not immediate. It's not always in the first few days or even the first few weeks. It often comes later. After the noise has settled, the distractions fade, and he realizes that none of the temporary highs, none of the rebound conversations, feedback, and none of the social media scrolling are filling the space you left behind. That's when it sinks in. He starts to feel the absence of your presence, not just your body, but your energy back, your voice, the way you challenged him, grounded him, made him feel something real. And it's in that moment when he's feeling that deep ache for you that he still doesn't reach out. feedback. Not because the feelings aren't real, but because he's already convinced himself that you've moved on, that you're doing better without him. And that illusion, that story he tells himself, model feedback. It becomes the barrier between craving and action. You see, he's watching from a distance now, whether it's through social media, mutual friends, feedback, or just the stories he imagines in his head. He sees you smiling, succeeding, posting pictures, laughing, living. And even if you're hurting too, even if part of you still misses him, feedback. That's not what he sees. He sees someone who doesn't you need him, someone who's healed, someone who's gone. And here's the twist. While you might be open to hearing from him, feedback, he's sitting there convinced that reaching out would only expose far behind he's fallen. Because in his eyes, you're not just doing okay, you're thriving. Feedback. And nothing triggers self-doubt more than seeing the person you hurt seemingly doing better without you. So he holds back. Not because the desire isn't burning inside him, but because of one word, feedback, intimidation. You've become larger in his mind. Not just the woman he once dated, but the one who got away. The one who grew while he stayed. The one who turned her pain into power. Back, while he still hasn't figured out how to process his. And to approach you now would feel like showing up to a battle he's already lost. He might even start thinking back, which he probably has someone else, or what if she laughs at me? Or worse, what if she's totally over it? Feedback. And I just look pathetic for still caring. These thoughts create this false sense of finality, as if the craving he feels doesn't matter anymore because the ship has already sailed. Feedback. But let's be honest, his craving hasn't gone anywhere. It's not temporary. It lingers in the quiet moments. It's in the songs that remind him of you, the restaurants you used to go to. Feedback. The way someone else's laugh catches him off guard, and suddenly he's back in a memory with you. That longing is still there, stronger than ever. Feedback. But his belief that it's too late has trapped him in silence. And this is where so many people misunderstand what's happened. They think, if he really cared, feedback, he'd say something. But caring and acting are not the same thing. Not when someone feels unworthy. Feedback. Not when they've built you up in their head to be this untouchable version of who you were together. His craving hasn't disappeared. It's just buried under layers of hesitation, fear, feedback, and the belief that you're already gone. That's the painful irony. He might love you more now than he did when you were together, not because you've changed, feedback, but because distance has given him perspective. Because only in losing you did he realize how much you added to his life. But even with that clarity, he can't make the move. Feedback. Because reaching out would mean risking humiliation, vulnerability, and possibly rejection. So instead he watches, he overthinks, he lets the days pass, hoping that the craving will fade. Feedback. But it doesn't. And deep down, he knows it won't. Not because he's stuck in the past, but because the connection he felt was real. You left a mark. Feedback. And pretending that you didn't would be a lie he can't sell to himself anymore. And still he says nothing. He lets the silence grow. He lets the story he's created, that you're over him, back, that he's no longer enough, be the reason he stays distant. Because if he reaches out and finds that he's right, it'll break him. So instead, he chooses the pain he already knows, feedback, than of missing you in silence from a distance. So if you're wondering why he never contacts you, feedback, even though he's craving you so deeply it keeps him up at night, it's because he thinks you don't need him anymore. And that belief, it's stronger than his longing.